I'm James with Bolin Barbecue, and today we're going to give you a step-by-step process of how we make our scratch biscuits for brunch. We're open for brunch on Saturdays and Sundays at 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. and then we continue with our normal dinner service at 4 o'clock. But that being said, let's talk about biscuits. Biscuits are not a scientific process. It's more of a feel process. You have to do it probably, I don't know, at least 100 times before you actually get it down pat. Nothing is ever measured out precisely. It's always a little different. Each flour is different that you get. You could be using bleached versus unbleached flour. You could be using a winter wheat flour, which is softer, which is what I prefer for our biscuits. But it's tough to get it out on the West Coast. We use it in the South a lot, a brand called White Lily. It's a soft winter wheat flour. It makes amazing biscuits. We're currently trying to source that flour brand for our biscuits out here in California. But that being said, we have about 6 cups of flour here. That'll be about enough as we need to use for a service today. And there are basically 5 or 6 ingredients to biscuits, okay? Flour, salt, baking powder, whole milk, lard, and butter. You don't have to use lard. We use lard and mix equal parts lard and butter together with our biscuits. It gives it a more rich and dynamic flavor. It's just a whole lot deeper, and it makes for a more tender, flaky biscuit. So here we go. Come closer. We only want to use enough salt in the flour to make the flour not taste as floury, basically. So we're going to dump a little bit of salt in there, pull a little bit out for our board to work our biscuits on. Just put your bowl back down, mix that up, and you literally need to get a fingerful of it and try it. If it still tastes floury and you don't get the hint of salt, you need to add more salt. So I think we're going to end up using every bit of that. That's 6 cups of flour to about, I don't know, a good solid tablespoon, maybe a little bit more of the salt. So try it again. I can definitely taste the salt in it now. Now we need some baking powder. So the baking powder is critical ingredient for biscuits because that's what provides the leavening to it. I'm assuming probably we need maybe 2 tablespoons, maybe 3 tablespoons to this. But I use, like I said, I do it by feel. There's 1, 2, about 3 tablespoons of baking powder. Mix that up as well. Cut. Stop. Now, after you got the salt and your baking powder into your biscuits, you can sift it if you want to, you know, but I've just never found that it makes a tremendous difference in it. I mean, it might make a more tender biscuit, but, you know, it's not that discernible to me. I think making cakes and stuff, it's more important to sift, but for biscuit making, not so much. So we have pig lard and butter. So we don't really know, I don't really know how much it's going to take. It just gets to a certain point to where this becomes crumbly, and we know that it's ready to go and ready for the milk. So all this is super cold, not frozen, but cold fat. So you want to break off pieces of your butter. Just start throwing it in there. And the key when making biscuits is that you have to work fast. If you don't work fast, it's not going to be a good result. What happens is the heat from your hands starts to melt the fat in the biscuit, and you don't want that. You want it to be chunky and cold at all times. So what we're looking for here is we're breaking up the butter into the flour. We're just going to keep doing it until we reach a certain point. I'm going to say it's probably going to take a ½ pound of butter. This is from experience, and probably a ½ pound of lard for these biscuits. But like I said, you know, I don't know. It's when it starts to come together like this. I'll give you a better example, like that. See how it's compacting like that? That's what we're looking for, but it needs to be throughout the whole bowl. You want to fill chunky pieces of butter in it. And you don't want to handle it a whole lot. I can feel it right now. It's starting to get crummy. If you can see that, zoom in on that. It's getting kind of crummy. And that's because the fat that I'm forcing into the flour. Okay, so I got about a ½ pound of butter in it. I'm going to grab probably a good cup of this. Same thing. Now the lard is a lot softer than the butter is, so it's a whole lot easier to work into it, but you still want to work fast. See how that's coming crummy, coming together? That's what we're looking for right there. I can tell that there is not enough fat in this because around the edges where I keep working it, it's still too loose. It needs more fat. So I'm going to pinch off some more butter, pinch off some more lard, and start working it in. If you've ever made pie crust before, this is basically the same process. Nice crumbly texture. Try to wear gloves too, because that's going to be a heat barrier for it. A lot of people will just dump this on your work table and your surface and work it into like that. It's a little bit messy. Try to just see how that holds together like that? And if you can look, you can see that striation in it right there. There's butter in that. That's what we're looking for. I'm going to call this good. All right, so now we need to add our milk. I don't have no clue how much it's going to take. We'll figure it out after I get in there. Make a hole, make a center for the well. Probably start with 2 cups. Work it in. Be fast. You don't want to work this like pasta because it'll definitely the gluten will form up in it, and it's not great for biscuits. Great for pasta, not good for biscuits. Keep adding that milk. It's almost there, I can tell. Don't want that. That might be enough. Basically, that's what we're looking for right there. It's not completely hydrated, but once we let it set for about 10 minutes, sorry, that's our work phone. Yep, well, maybe just a scoosh more. That's gonna be it right there. I can already tell. Yep. So we'll get that last bit in there, and this is gonna go into the freezer because I want all that butter and all that fat to stay cold or get cold again. Okay. All right, we're back. Our dough's nice and cold. It's been in the freezer. I had a piece of plastic wrap over it as well. You could put like a damp towel on it if you want to. If you put it in the refrigerator, put a damp towel, but if you put it in the freezer, put a piece of plastic wrap over the top of it. So let's get it out of the bowl onto our floured workspace. Take that right, please. Thank you. And we're just going to start turning it over. Okay. All right. So the main thing is that we want to keep it symmetrical. So square it up. All right, here we go. We roll our French rolling pin here. You can see butter, 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 butter. That is what we are looking for. Okay, fold it over, turn it 90 degrees, square it up. And basically what's occurring here is we're making what's called lamination. Just as the same as you make croissants. Fold and turn, fold and turn. So we do that probably 10 times. So that creates 10 folds into the biscuit. So not only are we have leavening with the baking powder, but we're also going to have some leavening due to the lamination process. Okay. Turn it again. If it starts looking like this, you need to dust. Square it up. Press it down. Keep your stick floured. Fold it in half. I actually might not fold this 10 times. I might just keep it at this one. I'm liking the way that it's looking right now. All right. The faster that you can get these done, the better. And you basically want to roll them out to about the depth of your cutter. Now let's talk about temperature in your oven. The chemical reaction in baking powder that causes the release of carbon dioxide in baking powder is a temperature that's over 400 degrees. Okay, so you want to start your oven at about 4 1/4. That's what I do it as, at least. I started at 425, and it causes the initial reaction. And then I back it down after about, I don't know, about 10 minutes. I back it down to about 350, maybe 375. Okay, these biscuits are done. We have a half-size sheet tray here. It's lightly floured and buttered first and then floured. Okay. Now the key to biscuits is, even though we have all this leavening, biscuits like to be next to each other. Okay, so when they rise, they want to be friends because they lean on each other. So when you're making biscuits, press down, twist, and that's it. None of this back and forth shit. Down, cut, that's it. If you notice your dough is a little fat in some areas, press it down a little bit. These are a little too thick right here, so they're going to take a while to cook. Although these biscuits look dope as put them up next to each other, because what happens is when they rise, they lean on each other. And when they lean on each other, you'll get a better rise in the oven. If you have a big circular cake pan, like a 12-inch cake pan, those work great. You can pack more in it. I don't have a big circular cake pan. I got a smaller one. I mean, they work in it, but it's not the best. So now you have all this extra dough, right? You can put it back together. You can reuse it again. You can roll it back out. But these biscuits just won't be as good as these. That's just the nature of biscuits. You won't get as good as a rise. They just won't be as pretty. Well, waste not, want not. We'll probably cut 2 out of it. And that's all we'll use for service today. Might possibly. Hi, I'm Chef James Liles with Bolin Barbecue, and if your biscuits don't look like this, then you're doing it wrong. Come see us down here at Bolin Barbecue. We'll give you a more personalized experience. Have a good day.